In this podcast episode, Jeffrey Sachs sits down with Tucker Carlson to discuss issues such as the ongoing censorship by big tech companies, the grim realities of the war in Ukraine, and the implications of U.S. foreign policy. He also addresses the economic divide in America, the impact of automation, and the role of the media in shaping public discourse, all while advocating for a more diplomatic approach to international relations. Jeffrey Sachs discusses the ongoing censorship by big tech companies and the importance of live events as a means of free expression. He highlights a fall tour featuring prominent figures like Russell Brand, Tulsi Gabbard, and Donald Trump, emphasizing that live events cannot be easily censored. He expresses concern about the current state of media coverage, particularly regarding the war in Ukraine, which he believes is being downplayed due to political motivations and a lack of accountability from Western leaders. Sachs asserts that Ukraine is losing the war against Russia, with significant daily casualties. He points out that the West, particularly the U.S. and Britain, has maintained a narrative of victory, ignoring the grim realities on the battlefield. He argues that the war is fundamentally a conflict between the U.S. and Russia, rather than a straightforward Ukraine-Russia issue. The lack of meaningful negotiations and the unwillingness of Western leaders to take responsibility for the war's consequences are central to his critique. Sachs critiques the current U.S. administration, suggesting that President Biden is not mentally equipped to lead effectively. He believes that the U.S. is on autopilot in its foreign policy, which is dangerous in a volatile global landscape. He emphasizes the need for a president who understands the historical context of U.S. Russia relations and the implications of NATO expansion. He argues that the American public has been misled about the nature of the conflict and the extent of U.S. involvement, including the presence of U.S. personnel in Ukraine. The conversation shifts to the potential for nuclear conflict, with Sachs expressing alarm over the casual attitude some pundits have toward the possibility of nuclear war. He stresses that the U.S. has crossed Russia's red lines, and the risk of escalation is real. He recalls historical moments, such as the Cuban Missile Crisis, to illustrate how close the world has come to nuclear disaster, and the importance of understanding the gravity of the current situation. Sachs transitions to the topic of technology and privacy, discussing the implications of living in a world where personal data is constantly harvested and sold. He introduces the concept of a new phone designed to protect user privacy, emphasizing the need for individuals to reclaim their personal data from big tech companies. He argues that without privacy, there can be no true freedom, and the current state of surveillance is a significant threat to individual liberties. Sachs addresses the economic divide in the U.S., highlighting the stark contrast between the experiences of college graduates and those with only a high school education. He notes that many Americans are struggling with credit card debt and cannot afford basic necessities, while a small number of individuals accumulate vast wealth. This economic disparity has led to a bifurcated society, where the affluent are insulated from the struggles of the working class. The discussion touches on the impact of automation and technological advancements on the job market. Sachs explains that many traditional jobs have disappeared due to automation, leaving a significant portion of the population without stable employment. He warns that the rise of artificial intelligence will exacerbate these issues, potentially displacing even more workers and widening the economic divide. Sachs emphasizes the need for political leaders to acknowledge and address the economic challenges facing the country. He criticizes the current political discourse, which often focuses on superficial issues rather than the underlying problems affecting millions of Americans. He believes that a genuine understanding of the economic landscape is necessary for effective governance and policymaking. Sachs critiques the mainstream media for failing to cover important issues, particularly those related to economic inequality and foreign policy. He argues that the media often perpetuates narratives that serve the interests of the powerful, rather than providing a platform for diverse perspectives. This lack of accountability in journalism contributes to a public that is uninformed about critical issues. As the conversation concludes, Sachs reflects on the future of U.S. foreign policy, suggesting that a shift in leadership could lead to a reevaluation of America's role in the world. He advocates for a more diplomatic approach to international relations, emphasizing the importance of cooperation over confrontation. He believes that understanding the complexities of global politics is essential for preventing future conflicts and fostering a more peaceful world.